Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Carl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Carl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, it's Carl Bryan here. I am continuing with our interview series on business coaching secrets, and I've got a very, very special guest today. Hope you guys are excited about it. You probably noticed we had a little bit of a break on the podcast, a little 1-week break with, we were in Cancun for Business Coaching Mastery 8, that is, so the 8th event over 9 years, because we had the lovely COVID that disrupted us. But at that event, it all culminated in one thing, and that is the Coach of the Year Award. And you're not going to believe who I've got here today. I have got the recipient of that award. It is called the Adrian Ulsh Coach of the Year. Adrian Ulsh being my business partner and being an absolute legend whom I love very, very dearly. So let me tell you, this award is near and dear to my heart. But before I open you up, guys, I want you to know who you're about to listen to. She is somebody worth listening to and a very, very special person who I consider to be a dear friend. Look, she's a visionary. She's got a little bit of a mission that she's there to shatter the shocking reality that so few business owners manage to get to 7 figures. She personally built a bakery from startup to over 7 figures and kind of achieved that quote unquote dream, lifestyle and business. But what happened is it didn't have such a great ending. And when she reversed engineered it, and we're going to hear her story soon, but it was something to the effect of, look, I wasn't reading the scoreboard. I didn't understand my numbers. I didn't know how to read financial statements. And effectively, that was my downfall. So all the money was coming in, but more was going out. And it's a little bit like that magic trick, right? Or the illusionist where somebody gets cut in half, or the magician makes somebody disappear. The same thing can happen with your clients' revenues. So she sorted that out, and now she is here, incredibly successful. She graduated from the prestigious Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program through Babson College in Boston, Massachusetts, and holds an MBA from Western Governors University. And she considers herself a business chaos sorter, got to get that right, who creates business owners who enjoy bigger paychecks and more impressive vacations without cash flow anxiety and endless calls from staff and clients. But most importantly, as I started with, she is the winner of the first annual Adrian Ulsh Award for Business Coach of the Year at Focus.com. She is a spitfire and someone I tremendously adore and really think a lot of, but most importantly, I respect her as an entrepreneur and as a business coach and as a mentor, because she does some amazing things with her clients. So without further ado, Miss Amanda Bedell, how are you doing?
Wow, I really hope that I can live up to all that hype, man. I mean, I am just honored that you would be speaking some of those lovely words to me. So thank you. It lands really nicely with me. And, business chaos sorter may be hard to roll off the tongue, but it really was putting myself right back into the middle of the chaos that I was. I wasn't always the business chaos sorter. I was literally in chaos. And I could not take a vacation without endless anxiety about the cash flow or calls from staff. It was just, so I always remember that and where I was then.
So Amanda, but on the surface, to your friends, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. She's got this bakery. She got it started. Now she's crushing it. She's got these staff. She's so busy. She's running around. She's got the new car, etc. And then you're there, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it looks like. But in the inside, it's not always so pretty. Correct? That's kind of the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how many businesses?
So
How many business owners do we meet? That exact same dynamic going on.
Every single one of us, every single one of us is not telling the truth in one way or another, because you can't. And I've listened to this podcast for 2 years, and you can't wear your heart on the sleeve as a business coach. You do need to keep and have your support system around you in order to go through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship yourself. But what it looks like is chaos. It looks like overwhelm. It looks like burnout. And what we need to be doing is being able to listen deeply enough to know really what the person needs to hear or needs to be challenged on with the dialogue that they're saying in the moment. This just reminds me of a call that I had just an hour ago with a client that wants to sell his business. And I said, and he said, 100% done. I'm out. This is over. There is no reason on earth I should ever even keep this business. And I said, tell me the story, or tell me a story and the argument for actually keeping the business. So
Nice.
I didn't sit there with him and say, oh, let's go down this pity party of like how terrible the business is. I said, let's stop and turn that dialogue into why would you keep it?
Yeah, I love this. So you showed up as mom as opposed to best friend, and you said, look, here's the deal. This is where it's at. Here's what you're going to do. And you're going to argue. Again, if you want to be a good at debate, what do you got to be able to do? You got to be able to argue both sides. So he was so good at doing the wrong side. You threw him to the other side and said, okay, well, let's go here. And how did it go? Tell us how it went?
Ooh, it was hard and it was uncomfortable and it was just, it was like pulling teeth. And he's like, I've been in this business for 12 years. And, and he has to work through all of the dialogue he has going in his head. But what he knows that he gets from me every single time that we talk, he gets something that either pushes him in the direction that he needs to go or disrupts his thinking. And it wasn't beautiful. And I ask my clients to rate our meeting at the end of our conversation so that I can understand whether or not, I'm meeting expectations, or we're meeting expectations. Cause I say, this rating isn't me. You're not rating me. You're rating us. You're rating how you show up, how I show up. And this one, we did get an 8. We did not get a 10. It's 1 out of 10, and 10 being the best. So I did go down a couple of points on this one. But, he'll text me, in 24 hours after he's done doing his thing.
But your best coaches are somebody who sees something special in you, and they are harder, again, they're harder on their best athletes as opposed to the ones they think that they have it. So there we go. I love it. Amanda, you are a special coach, and you do some crazy stuff. So, well, look, tell us, I get obviously a lot of coaches on the line now live, but we're going to have a whole bunch listening. What would you classify as a must do for business coaches?
So are we talking about new business coaches, any kind of business coach?
Now let's just say, let's talk to you 3 years ago. Yeah, I want to talk to you 3 years ago. What's a must do?
Well, the must do for me 3 years ago was I needed to really understand those financial statements. I needed to be able to identify 2 or 3, probably more like 3 numbers outside of those regular financial numbers. The regular financial numbers being profit margins and revenues. I would want to completely understand what those financial statements are. And really, I mean, I think, through story, I feel that we can understand a little bit more about what people say in that. So I'd love to share a story really quick about, I had met a client, and she's been my client almost since the beginning, came in on, I was a newbie, so I was doing really cheap and she's still really cheap. So she came in and she was looking for marketing support. So she wanted me to help her with her website. She wanted to update the messaging. We were going to do MDP, all that stuff. And when I got her financial statements, what I realized was that she was bleeding cash, and I couldn't figure out why her net profit was so low. But we dug into it, and what we ended up finding out was that a third of her clients, the smallest ones, were not breaking even on the prices that she had set. So her pricing was, she was losing money on a third of her clients. So we had to.
It wasn't like a loss leader, like an organic path. She was literally losing 33% of her clients, but not realizing it, right?
Not realizing it. She was making it up on some of the bigger ones, but just barely, right? That bank account was pretty tight. Yeah. So what we ended up doing was increasing her prices by 114%, and it was not a make-believe number. We went through and we did a pricing matrix. We monetized every single thing that she does, everything that she gives her clients, the back-end offers, the front-end offers, all the things that we talk about, and we increased those prices. But we did not increase those prices swiftly, like across everybody at one time. So her clients were on a renewal basis. So we spent a year making sure that our message was dialed in, and we would just raise the prices for that month's renewals. And so we tested our message, made sure that we were being, that it was perceived well. And really at the end of the day, which has been over a year now, we lost 5 customers due to the price increase.
Nice.
So that's a big win. Knowing the numbers, financial statements, knowing the numbers, that's going back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. You don't need to be, would you agree? It's not necessary to be an accountant. Like people that don't understand accounting or financial statements, they get a little bit like, oh my gosh, I'm not an accountant, and they kind of poop their pants. It's not that complicated, is
it? Well, and when I was a bakery owner, I would say, yes, it is. It was super complicated. And I'd look at my P&L and I swear it was like I was a 13-year-old, like going out with a boy for the first time. I would turn red. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'd start sweating. I'd just start, like, my heart rate would go up. And at the end of the day, us as business coaches, we don't need to be accountants. But we do need to understand what the financials are telling us. And I know, through Focused, we have products where we teach folks how to, turn numbers into percentages and have an easier reference point. So you need to be able to look at the historical, but also figure out, where they're going. So cash flow is really important, and the timing of bills and when they're going through. I was just on a client call before popping on this, and we were doing a cash flow tracker, and I was showing her how she could legitimately, move around bills so that she could keep that positive cash flow week after week. So transparency is really key. So, yeah.
And by the way, a shameless plug here. We do a 4-day training on how to read financial statements. You've done that training. What would you say? Business coaches do that?
Well, I was pretty upset because I went for my MBA for 4 courses all around financial management, and then I watched that for 4 hours. So yeah. I think I got more out of that than I did the MBA. But
by the way, Amanda, am I allowed to say you mentioned boy meets girl, girl meets boy kind of thing earlier? Amanda is single, by the way. Just a little, I'm going to throw that out there.
Right.
And she is a superstar amongst superstars. So, hey, for what that's worth for our audience, I don't know, maybe you're going to, I don't know. Should I have done that, Amanda?
Just turned out, yeah. I don't know. You just turned into my my matchmaker.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's. I can get myself in trouble at these points. I'm going to keep moving. So, all seriousness here. Back to the podcast. Back to the point of this all. Okay, you've got a really I don't know, unique but special way of relating to, business owner, like your business coaching clients. I'd like you to kind of speak to that for me, could you?
Well, I think you talk a little bit about how, you coach who you were 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And so I lean on my business story a lot. And we talked about that, at the opening of this interview, that it can feel, being in business, being a business owner is, you are in isolation. You're
Yeah.
isolated because a lot of times your friends and family cannot relate to you. They do usually a normal W-2 job. And so the I just really understand where they're at, because I like to, and I shared this in Cancun for those of you that weren't there, and mark your calendar for next year because I've already got my ticket. Anyway, another shameless plug. I shared the story of the time I went into the bakery. I was in the moment of complete chaos. I had like two or 3 hours of sleep in between shifts, and I had to get in to do a brand photo shoot and a video. So we were shooting video, and I was being interviewed because we were the finalists in a pitch competition. And mind you, I'm around food all day, and I am, just running around. I have a brand new GM, getting, tons of baking done, but also need it to be quiet for this video that's happening. So I had to shut down the bakery and whatever. But while this is all happening, I'm itching. Like, my head is on fire. I have no idea what's going on. And it turns out I had lice. So I do know how I got lice. And that it's kind of down a rabbit hole of my bakery. I know, you're like, wait, what? Another rabbit hole. My bakery, we hired people from the street. So we worked with people that were first chance, second chance employment. So we had people who were reentry from the correctional facilities. I worked with folks who were living on the streets. And at this time, we hadn't grown up enough as a bakery. We had bandanas. So I had a bunch of bandanas that people used, and we had a clean pile and a dirty pile that were right next to each other. So that's how that happened. We changed, like after I got lice, we changed that, where the clean ones were and where the dirty ones were. And we also went to throwaway ones just a couple months later. So I learned that, but yeah, so hurricane of chaos. That's truth right there. That's how I relate to people.
There you go. There you go. But at the end of the day, you just a vulnerability. Is that what I just heard? Like, that's not the most awesome story to be telling, when it's a personal experience, right? Vulnerability, is that it?
Yeah, to use a phrase, I have a hard time with that, but I hear that it's good to be vulnerable. And the more that I open up to being a coach, I am opening up to that ability to share and be vulnerable in the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a superpower because, and again, it kind of leads back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, where it's deeply listening to people and not necessarily going for what the question is that they're saying, but
Yeah.
hearing what they're saying underneath it. Or how is this a mirror moment for you? And I've said this to one of my clients. He's like a crazy manufacturing company who has just, his employees are sick of the production floor being all messy, but they're expanding and adding a new line, and they're just, and I said, well, how is this chaos that's happening in your business a reflection of what's happening in your life? And it was, whoa,
Yeah. A moment.
The guy's getting a divorce. There's all kinds of things going on there. So yeah.
I always say, if you want to know what's going on in somebody's head, just look in their car, right? Car's a mess, the mind's a mess. Just look in their room, room's a mess, head's a mess. Look in their office. And by the way, the richest people in the world, I just talked to, and the Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezoses, conscientiousness is absolutely a superpower there, but very, very rarely do you meet somebody who's like highly disorganized. So let's just say living in chaos, and they're not going to make that rich list. What I'm getting at is orderly people make more money. And again, and just like, your story right there, you just said it, like you went from chaos to the person who sorts out chaos. You know what I mean? Like, and that, if you look at your bank account, by the way, Amanda, I got to share this too. You talk about vulnerability. I don't know, you're doing pretty damn good here. But I remember, and I'll never forget the conversation that you and I had, and you had just signed, I believe you had just signed the papers to buy your house. And then you said you were moving in on it, or, moving into your new house, which you were very, very proud of. And so you should be. And I spoke to you on the day that you moved into your house, and I was very, very proud. And that was a very, very cool moment. So got to give you a high five. Legend.
Went from, living at my parents in a RV trailer to, and that was a 2-year break.
Yep.
And not break as in it was a health challenge. So I worked through cancer while you all were dealing with the pandemic. I was getting well at my folks' house, but I needed an RV in order to be away from them sometimes. So I had a space to work, and yes, I'm able to live in my own house and afford my mortgage here in McMinnville, Oregon, for those of you.
This woman beat cancer, ladies and gentlemen. She is like real live superwoman. All right. Hey, okay, so this is a good segue. Talking about you just change. Okay, so how do you navigate change when you're working with a business owner? Because in order to go from orderly to success, it takes a lot of change. I want you to talk about how you navigate change for me.
Yeah, and we kind of hit on it earlier. It's those questions that disrupt assumptions or disrupt them in the conversation that they're having in their head right at the moment. And this concept of disrupting assumptions is something that I heard on Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman. I don't know, have you ever listened to that podcast?
Not a lot, but I'm very familiar with Reid Hoffman, and he's an absolute stud.
Yeah. Wow, really? Founder of LinkedIn, partner at Greylock. He's pretty amazing. But in its scale businesses, usually IT or SaaS or something. But he's had Sarah Blakely on, and there's different topics, but most of it's startup and blitz scaling and all that. But one of the things that he says is disrupting assumptions is one of the superpowers that he has as an advisor. So that's what I use. I always try to bring in something that we can do to disrupt assumptions. So I can share a little bit of the mini assessment, the questions that I ask for assumptions so people can have some takeaways.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, please. Yeah. So these are questions from like a Reid. So if we're talking to Reid Hoffman, we could assume that these are the questions he would go to. And Reid Hoffman, I don't know what he's worth, but could we guess like he's worth 10 billion on his worst day? And I'm going to say he potentially could be 100 billion. But by the way, just before we continue, when I say billion, I always laugh, right? Because people think like nobody listening to this knows, but million, billion, trillion, right? Like a million seconds is 11 days, and then a billion seconds is 32 years. Right? Like, so when we say billion, the guy, if it were to be 10 billion, that's all he's worth. And I'm positive he's worth a lot more than that. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's nothing remotely similar to 10 million. So back to the questions, Amanda. What would Reid Hoffman say?
So that's right. Well, it's a little bit of like, looking at the business from all sides. So I write these down really quick if you're listening. What are the assumptions about their customers? So customers is first, that bucket. What's the assumption around customers? What do they think that those customers want? What do they need? And what are their pain points? And it's not, this isn't the same exercise of target audience. This is what are my assumptions about it, so that we can, once we figure out what the assumptions are, we can challenge them. So that's what I'm going towards here. So then we want to also look at our assumptions. What are the assumptions about competitors? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their strategies? What are the assumptions around our industry? What are our trends? What are our challenges? And what are our opportunities? And then what are the assumptions of our own business? What our strengths and weaknesses are, and what those goals could be. So thinking about the business holistically, and then your target audience and your competitors. That's kind of, those are the questions, a mini assessment that Reid Hoffman would look at from all angles of the business. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so I just jotted down. So you had customers and then competitors. I just jotted
industry.
Under customers, you had, what do they want? What do they need? What are their pain points? Boom, right? Had assumptions about competitors. And then you went to, what are strengths? What are weaknesses? What are strategies? Is that correct?
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, nice. There we go. What about, does he ask anything about industry or anything in that realm?
Yep. What are the assumptions about the industry? So what are the trends in the industry? What are the challenges and what are the opportunities?
Nice.
And then what are the assumptions about your own business?
Oh, cool. So he's continuing. Okay, cool. Yep. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, the assumptions of your own business. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what are your goals?
Strengths. Okay, hang on. Let me just make sure I captured that. So so he went customers, or you went customer. No doubt you played with this, but customers, competitors, and then you went industry and their own business. So under industry, I put what are the trends? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Boom. Did I capture that? Those three questions?
Yep. You got it.
And assumptions about their own business. What are the strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then what are your goals? Boom. I love it.
Boom. That's it.
Cool. I like it. I like it.
So then, those are all things, that's step one, right? But step two is, how do you challenge them? So there's a couple of questions that I'd like to give everyone on how I start to challenge those assumptions. Does that sound like a good thing to go through?
You got it. I got my pen and paper ready. Go.
Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. So is there evidence to support my assumption? So is there evidence there? Or is it based on my own personal bias? Do we have evidence to support this, or is it based on my own bias?
Nice.
What would happen if my assumption is wrong? I think this is a good one to just play through, just like I was doing with my client at the beginning of this conversation. Let's say the assumption is that this business doesn't sell. What happens? What if my assumption is wrong? How would it impact my business? How would it impact my personal life? How would it impact finances?
Yeah.
And then how can I get more information to test my assumptions? So we always want to look at these assumptions and see if we can support any of it with data, research, all the things.
Yep. Love it.
And then we want to just open up and be asking ourselves, am I considering all of the possibilities, or all of the angles, or all the perspectives? Are there people that I can go to ask more, in depth, get more perspectives from, or is there a customer that I can talk to? Those kinds of things.
So, okay, I just want to see if in a nutshell, like, questions are the superpower, right? Thinking is nothing more than asking and answering questions. So asking questions, you're directing their thinking. So the first bit, you basically were just accumulating data and intel on where their kind of headspace is currently at. And then once you've established those, you don't accept them as correct. And then you kind of delved into, look, great, Carl, thank you for that info. And that was, you answered that perfectly. Now I would like to challenge you a little bit. So tell me, and then you went into a new set of questions, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit and pressing me on whether or not I'm right. And if I'm willing to kind of open more doors or open more windows to look, rather than looking in the mirror, I want to look through a window, right? Big mistake people make. So you challenged me a little bit. Did I capture the process?
100%.
Nice, nice. So, okay, where do these clients come? Like, where do your clients come from?
My clients, so I do live events.
I just wanted, and if it's better to delve into, and what about helping them get, I'd like to just talk about lead generation is what I'd really like to do.
Oh, okay. You want lead generation? So what I do is lead generation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like it. So, as anybody who is in business, I too went through that overwhelm of wanting to do everything, especially around lead generation activities. We're pulled in so many different directions in digital marketing, JVs, all the things. My go-to strategies are live in-person events. I love to be in person. I love the aha moments. I love to just have fun with people. I also live in a very small town of under 40,000 people, and we have about 1,800 businesses here locally. And I just love being in front of them and with them. So my go-tos are live events, and then I have a network of people who I work with, like my economic development office. I work with the chamber president on programming and things like that. So that's my go-to for lead gen.
Okay, one thing though that I want to make sure people understood, like when you did live events, you did you do one sporadically and then gauge how well it went and then decide if you were going to do another one, or did you kind of set up X amount in a row and knock them right off?
I knocked them right off. Thanks for that reminder. When I first moved into this house, so this is a new community for me, I just used it as in like just to like find friends and stuff. So I talked to every single person that I could, and I did 12 in a row. So I did
Nice.
3 a month with 1 week break, and I did 4 months in a row. So it was October,
12.
November, December, January. Yeah.
I got bad math. Is that you did 12 events? Is that right? You killed it.
12 events in a row. Yeah. In a row, once a week with 1 week off in between.
And what about, and I bet, like, what happened from that? Like, did you start getting a little bit of attention and kind of asked to speak at other events? I bet that tends to happen.
Yes. So I ended up not having to keep doing my own event. Instead, I was asked by the bank to come and host an event. I went, that's how I got a partnership with my economic development folks. They were like, "Oh, are you the one that was doing those events?" And so, yeah, and then the city of McMinnville tapped me for a program that they needed to use ARPA funding. So it all led to where I am today, those being super visible for an extended period of time. And yeah, I absolutely love doing those live events and going out and getting in front of people. Mm-hmm.
I love it. And one other thing, so I've literally had this conversation yesterday, which was a Sunday, by the way. So yes, I was pounding on Sunday. Hopefully everybody listening are not scared to put in some time on a Sunday, or actually, now, you know what? Do whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? But if your airplane's on the ground and you got to get it up, you know what? Sunday could be not a bad day to just carve out 2 hours to do a little bit of extra work. Maybe not. Throw that to you. But what I wanted to say, the conversation I had yesterday was with somebody, and I was just talking about, I used to do a presentation that I can't remember, it was a long time ago, but 10 biggest mistakes business coaches make when marketing themselves online, something like that. bottom line, it was 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The number one reason that coaches don't do well online is if I look at the groups, let's say they're in 10 groups, I go 8 of them are other coaches, if not all 10. And what do you need to do? So what they're doing is they're hanging out with other coaches. And where do you need to be hanging out? And that's with your targeted audience, right? Like, again, I was on the phone, right? Like I was speaking to somebody, I said, you got to understand, you are our client and I'm on the phone with you on Sunday. That's how it works. We get on the phone in the groups. You know what I mean? Like we're in the groups with our ideal clients and you should be in the groups with your ideal clients. And they were in, and she went, oh my gosh, you're so right. And it was consistent with the conversation I won't bore you with. Spending too much time online and otherwise with, fellow coaches is a huge error. Where do you need to be online? And frankly, where do you need to be offline? And that is staring at, talking to, and listening to, and communicating with your ideal client. I say that because that is something that I know you're very, very good with. I'd be amazed if you didn't totally agree with what I just said. Feel free to disagree, Amanda, but I'd be amazed if you didn't agree with that. And that is something that I've seen you've done very, very well over the years, where you're not hanging around with the coaches. You are hanging around with your ideal clients, which I know, in trade and construction and that sort of thing. What would you say in response to what I just said, Amanda? Would you agree with that? And is that one of your powers?
I would agree with that. And, it's really easy to get sucked in, especially, I've met so many amazing people at Cancun and even online, these women helping women or coaches. There's an endless amount of groups out there. And so it's fairly easy to get sucked in. But one of the things that I don't allow myself to do is sit and consume social media. I look at it for the purpose to see if there's anything that I need to address that my team hasn't, put up to me saying, oh, you need to, look at this person or whatever. I do keep my finger on the pulse of it, but I do not sit on it because it'll just suck you in. I mean, those dog videos, I can't. Like, I absolutely love them so much. I would lose hours. Those the dodo. Oh my goodness, the dodo. I can't.
Oh my God, that's.
I wouldn't have a business. I just be watching the dodo.
You were single earlier. Way to her heart. Send her a funny dog video. That's right. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's not get off track here, Amanda. Okay, so I want you to speak to Amanda 5 years ago, kind of getting cranky. Like, you know what I mean? I want to talk to your former self. What do you think? How would I word that? What do you think contributes most to your success, or what do you think contributes most to success? I'll leave it there. Play with it.
Well, and I'm going to, if it's okay, may I reframe to coaching? Because I wasn't a coach 5 years ago. I was a business owner. So I've been a coach a year, 2.5 years. And so I think what I'll share there is what was it in that first year that can contribute to the success? Well, we've already talked about it, and that's live events all day. And what do you say, twice on Sundays? Live events, live events, live events. Yes. And then I just kept talking to people, and there are coaches who are more seasoned that say things like death by coffee meeting. I had death by coffee meeting for over a year. I had no bathroom breaks even. I would have Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. And this is COVID too, mind you. So, we're just one thing after another. So I would be very focused on 1 to 2 actions that you're going to do in lead generation. Live events don't have to be it. If you're not dynamic and you don't want to be in front of people, I wouldn't actually recommend that, right? But there are literally hundreds of ways to lead generate, and you can find the thing that works the best for you. But really, it's all about focusing, being clear on what you want, and then focusing on 1 to 2 strategies that really work for you, and then stay focused on that consistent action. You know this about me, that I'm consistency queen now. So I'm all about, walking 1 mile a day. I'm holding plank 1 mile a day or 1 minute a day. Just like those little incremental
Cartwheels.
steps, just staying there.
Cartwheels.
Cartwheels. Yeah, cartwheel challenge.
Yeah.
If you haven't done a cartwheel and you're over 40, you need to do it because it's really fun.
I love it. Okay, I disrupted your flow. Keep going.
That's okay. Nope, that's good. That's not what I have for you. It's the muscle tone, right? That incremental changes make a big difference at the end. And yeah, I'm not fast, but I am consistent. That's for sure.
I'm not. Would you say I'm not fast, but I am consistent? Is that it?
But I am consistent. Yes.
Yeah, that is pure gold. Okay.
I think you say it slightly different.
You got going. So did we create, did you, because you've been a client you've used our software, right? Focus.com for 2.5 years. So did we get you going as a business coach?
Yes.
That's, you know what? That is something that I never knew. I did not know that we literally got you going. So there you go. That's kind of cool. That's kind of super cool. Oh, well, I really, really appreciate it. But again, I just want to make sure, guys and gals listening, folks, I think she summed it up right at the end there, where she said, you gotta get this on the back of your, I was going to say business card, but you probably don't even have a business card. But anyways, no doubt, maybe on the back of the side of your car. Amanda, I'm not fast, but I am consistent. And if I was listening to this and I took something away, I would dare say that might be part of it. Again, consistency wins. Consistency wins over talent all day long and twice on Sunday. So again, consistency. When Amanda went to go do some live events, she didn't do one and then rank it. She didn't do one and then go, oh, wow, should I do another one? She went all in. She booked them flat out and went for whatever it was, it was, 12 events in a row. That is something that I really, really hope you guys take away from her. But I got to tell you, Amanda, I really, really appreciate you truly from the bottom of my heart. In fact, the entire Focus.com family and community and team appreciate you and love you. And it's been such an honor watching you go, because you really have. You say not fast, but actually now I have to disagree with that one, because I'll tell you, not many people have come out of the blocks and done what you have done in such a short period of time. And you really have made an impact on a lot of people, a lot of which are your clients, but also in our community, which all culminated in you winning the Adrian Osh Coach of the Year Award, the first ever. So there you go. So I just want to say that I'm really proud of you. I really respect you. I really admire you. And I'm just so grateful for you being here today and sharing this with us.
Yeah, let's go get them.
Let's go get them. That's the gauntlet. Let's go get them. Amanda, again, understated, but just such a sweetheart. Again, in the most pure, you're just awesome, pure and simple, both as a human and as a business coach and as an entrepreneur. You're just awesome. So thank you so much for sharing everything with our audience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Carl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.